Hey everyone, and welcome to the Shape workout series, where today we're looking at running technique and form. Now if you go down to a local time trial or a race, you will see a wide range of potential running styles and techniques, and it would be incorrect to say that there's only one proper way to run. However, there are certain principles that have to be obeyed, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to call Kim off the treadmill outside, and we're going to show you some of the key concepts that you need to keep in mind in order to run smoothly and effectively. The first important concept about running technique is posture. And the first mantra that needs to be running through your head is run tall. And when we talk about tall, we're not talking about your height, we're talking about the position of your hips, because you have to keep them elevated. And Kim is going to show you a common mistake that many runners make. And she's exaggerating slightly, but they tend to slouch to the point that they're actually sitting down almost while they run. And the correction to this is to lift the hips and keep them as high as possible. Once Kim does this, you'll notice that you can draw a straight line from the ankle, through the knee, through the hips, up to the shoulder. And that's the perfect starting position for running, because what she can do now is lean from the ankles forward. And if she does that, you'll see that eventually gravity takes over and she's in a position to run forward. That's the position that you need to be in constantly while you're running. So once again, it's ankles, knees, hips, shoulders. The mistake that a lot of people make as well is they tend to lean from the shoulders. And if she does this, look at what happens to the hip as she leans. It actually goes backwards. Now that's where the center of mass is, and so you have to concentrate on the hips once again. The hips must be in front of your feet. So in that leaning position, you'll see that she's primed and ready to run. Now that Kim is running, the next important thing that she has to have in her mind is what she's doing with her arms. Because it might sound counterintuitive, but what she does with her arms can actually affect what happens to the rest of the body. And again, there are two things that runners often do that affects their running negatively. And the first of those is they tend to run with very tight arms and they suffocate themselves. And this can cause a number of things, for example a stitch, and it makes it very difficult to breathe because you constrict your upper body. The second thing that runners tend to do is that they swing their arms too much left to right. Remember, the whole point of running is to go forward, and what happens here is that you cause too much rotation, and that puts a great deal more work on the abdominals when you are running, and so you want to prevent that. What the arms should look like is locked at 90 degrees at the elbow, and the movement comes from the shoulders, and it's a nice relaxed movement that doesn't cross the midline of the body as someone runs. And then the final point concerns the legs and what you're doing in order to run faster. Now, the mistake again that a lot of runners make is that they think that running comes from the front of the body, and so they reach out in front of them. They use their quadriceps and their hip flexors to extend their leg and then go out forward as they try and land. What they should be thinking is that running actually comes from behind you, and it involves the use of the glute muscle and the hamstring, so that as your foot is coming into land, you start to contract the muscles at the back of the leg. What that does is it pulls those muscles back so that you apply your foot to the ground. And as long as you're in the position that I showed you earlier with Kim, where she's leaning forward, you'll be propelled forward. The key thing that should be running through your mind is concentrate on pulling backwards in order to go forwards. So this is Kim running at a decent pace on the treadmill, and the key thing when you look at someone running well is that they look smooth and fluid and easy. So again, Kim has locked her elbows at around 90 degrees. She's not suffocating herself and she's not rotating the arms too much. If you could freeze frame it, you would see a straight line from the shoulder to the hip, to the knee, to the foot at the point of contact. And as I explained, the tendency to slouch, and Kim will exaggerate that for you now, this is what someone looks like when they're a little bit too tight and a little bit weak in the hips. And so we want that tall running technique. Kim is contracting her hamstrings and her glutes to pull the leg back, and this is what it looks like to run smooth, powerfully, and controlled. Okay, awesome, Kim. Thanks.